You guys. Today is the third anniversary of my purity ceremony. I had it on January 31st, 2021. And it was a very powerful day, a very significant milestone moment in my life. It was to honor the covenant I made at 7 years old with the Lord that I would remain pure, abstinent, a virgin, if you will, until marriage. And I have kept that covenant. And here we are 15 years later, and I still get to celebrate that promise before the Lord. And I want to share this analogy in hopes that maybe it'll encourage you to value yourselves in the same way. And I want you to know that even if you have crossed that boundary already, I want to begin with this. It is not too late for you to quote unquote re-virginize yourself, to decide that no, I'm too valuable to be giving pieces of myself away to someone else prematurely without a covenant and outside of the way that God intended it to be. So I was 7. We were probably in the car. I feel like that's where a lot of our conversations took place. And what she said to me was, I'm going to tell you this analogy. So she says, when you go into a jewelry store, where is the cheap jewelry? She waited a second and then proceeded to answer, it's out for anybody to grab, right? It's visible, it's out in the open. She even implied like there is no protection over it and it's easy to steal. She then asked, where is the valuable jewelry? And answered, under lock and key. Sometimes, and I've added my own revelation of that analogy to it, sometimes you have to know specific terminology before the jeweler will even bring out certain pieces of jewelry to you. That's how valuable it is. Then she asked me, after relaying that information to me, are you cheap or are you valuable? And I confidently said at 7 years old, I'm valuable. And she said, okay, then don't give your body away before marriage. And after that, she didn't even know about this part, but I went by myself with the Lord and I said, okay, God, like I will give you this. I will make this promise. I will not give my body away before marriage. And, here I am. And let me just say this. If ever the thought occurred to me that God putting me in this God-ordained holy marriage and giving me my Boaz or whatever the case was done because of the works that I've done, because of me, doing everything right, because I've abstained all these years, let me tell you, the fact of like the humbling state of being that I am in right now derails that thought completely. If it was up to my works or lack thereof, I would be in that marriage already. But the reality is that I'm not. I'm still here in a waiting season, and I don't say that begrudgingly, though it's not always the easiest thing in the world, right? I know a lot of you may be waiting for God to give you a confirmation about a job, or maybe waiting for an application to go through for school, or maybe waiting on a child. You may have that beautiful marriage, and for whatever reason you're struggling with infertility or different things. And my heart really goes out for you, because I know firsthand through my own personal experience, unique to me, what it is like to pray for a blessing, to declare the word, to make prayer scrolls, get creative, have a community praying over you, right, in this one area, and still, watch the years go by and watch God seemingly not show up for you. That's what it feels like, but I'm not saying that's what the truth of the matter is. I still believe in God's faithfulness and his sovereignty and his love. I believe all of those things are true. His promises are yes and amen. I believe God is faithful. And he really is the most important part of, he is my life. I can't even say he's just part of Jesus is my life. He's my everything. Jesus is my Lord. And there's nothing else in this life that can compare to him. In him, I have everything. And apart from him, I have nothing. I believe that for myself. I believe that for you on the other end of this video watching. And while those things are true, it is still hard sometimes. And you don't know how to feel all the time, and sometimes I don't even have the right words to say or to pray. There are times where this boldness will come over me and this assertiveness, and I'll just declare things and believe, and I'll have the visions and the dreams and write them down and all the things that I'm supposed to be doing, and it's still hard. There are times like I can't even bring myself to do that. Like today of all days, like I felt this heaviness surrounding it, because it's like this would be a perfect opportunity in my mind for him to just show up and to make it happen and to do something. And he didn't yet. The day isn't over. He could do something. If he does, I'll let you guys know. But up until this point, like, I haven't really seen anything. Like, I just went to the chapel by myself. I was there by about an hour. The church bells ring every hour on the hour, and I heard it ring twice. So I'm like, wow, I've been here an hour. But yes, indeed, I was. I think I was in there by myself, majority, at least like 30 to 45 minutes, minus like few seconds here of interruption when people came in, and then saw I was in there and then left. But my heart was just in a place of, like, Hannah in the Bible. Like, I'm so touched by the story of Hannah and her faith to believe God when years had gone by and it felt like, God didn't see her, God didn't answer her prayers. And maybe I'm like Hannah. Maybe Hannah in the Bible felt like, man, like, I'm doing everything right. Like, I'm praying all the right prayers. I'm, stewarding my body the way that I need to. And still, so Hannah, she got to a place like she didn't even want to eat one day, and her husband Elkanah was like, and she was being taunted by her husband's other wife. Yeah, that's a whole story for a different day. But she was already going through it, and then she had somebody to like rub it in her face, right? And she's watching it happen for her adversary. Her adversary had, multiple children, like a very full family, quote unquote. And her arms were childless. So Hannah went up to the temple, probably on a mount somewhere, and she was in there with a grieved heart, and she just prayed in a way where no words were coming out. And Eli the priest was watching her and marking her mouth, seeing that, yes, her mouth was moving, but no words were coming out because her heart was speaking at that point. She couldn't articulate in the words what her heart was feeling for the barrenness that she was experiencing, despite possibly doing everything right. And I just so relate to Hannah. I really do. But, something. Eli asked her what was going on with her. He accused her of being a drunk. Like, how long will you be drunken, woman? And came to find out, she's like, I haven't had wine nor strong drink. She was like, I'm just like, basically, I'm just depressed. I'm just in a state of grief over the fact that I'm still in this place of barrenness, despite my greatest efforts and all that I know, And then she Eli heard her request, and he said for her to go her way and that the Lord would answer her request. So she went on, and I believe there was some more time in between, what the priest said and the fulfillment. But eventually she did conceive, and she had a son named Samuel. And the Bible tells us that Samuel was lent to the Lord all the days of his life. She said, I received a child from the Lord, this one. Because the Lord gave me a child, I'm giving him right back to the Lord. He'll be lent to the Lord all the days of his life. And I'm sure like years passed with Samuel. And, she eventually, once he was weaned, after she had finished breastfeeding him, she took him to the temple and he became God's prophet, God's mouthpiece for Israel. And then later on, the Lord remembered Hannah again, and she had like 4 or 5 more children, which is a blessing of the Lord and just God's way of saying, you gave this first one back to me. You planted a seed. You can't beat me giving. I'll give you more than what you gave. So I like that story a lot. I cling to it. I I understand. I think I empathize with Hannah. I relate to her. I feel like, in a way, her story is similar to my story.